troubles and just get happy. You better chase all your cares away. Sing hallelujah.
Okay, so let's say you've contacted me already and you've decided to book me for your wedding. Let's take a look at the contract. Okay, so this is a sample contract and obviously it just says music services contract, and this is the date that I'm sending it, and you are the client. Both of you are listed right here and your address is right there. Email and phones. And this is my information. Obviously this isn't correct, this is just an example. And artist will perform on the following date. Double check, make sure the date's correct, obviously. And arrival time, approximately 2 p.m., let's say. Usually I like to arrive 2 hours before the first guest arrives. So if your ceremony in this case is at 4:30, then your pre-ceremony would be at 4 o'clock. Start playing background music. So just subtract 2 hours from that. So that's what I usually put in the contract. And then 5 to 10 reception. Most people hire me for 5 to 6 hours. Okay, so this is what you as the client provides right here if you can. So one hot vendor meal served before dancing starts. That's pretty standard in the industry. Usually not a problem at most places. A 6-foot table, also not a problem. Most places already, like, they have DJs coming in every weekend or whatnot. They have tables around. With a linen, I actually bring a black linen with me that fits a 6-foot table. I think it looks nicer than cream colored, but if you have like custom linens, custom colors, then certainly we can use those. It's not a problem. If all they have is an 8-footer, sometimes I bring a 4-foot table with me, especially if it's in a barn or sometimes small spaces where I'm really tight with my equipment. I'll use a smaller table because I don't need a large table. Must have dry and even surface directly 3 feet off the dance floor and centered to place table, equipment, and speakers safely from rain. So that's basically just for tents. And that is talking about, like, sometimes your rental company will come in and they'll put the dance floor all the way up against the edge of the tent. And when I come in, that then forces me to be on the dance floor, and that kind of creates a hazard. So it's always best to have 3 feet of clearance from the edge of the tent to where the dance floor starts, if that makes sense. One dedicated amp, dedicated circuit within 20 feet of the DJ setup. So that's just electrical. Also not a problem, especially for event spaces that are used to having weddings all the time, especially if they're inside. But for outside, this can be an issue if you're dealing with your own power and you are getting a generator or something like that. I don't like to be on any other circuits. This happens at least once a year where the power ends up going out on my DJ equipment. And it can go out during dancing, actually, like when they plug in the coffee makers. It's not a good thing when you have the power go out when the music's blaring and everybody's having a fun time. Alright, so for tented weddings, the client or rental company should run a 12 or 14 gauge extension cord to the DJ table. The artist is not responsible for power issues, power going out, cords being tripped over. So again, it just goes to the idea of power. We're not in charge of, being electricians. We need to show up and focus on our job, which is playing music, not dealing with bad power issues, things like that. So we can talk about that if you're having a private wedding or whatnot in a tent. For tented weddings, the DJ shall be placed well under the tent. I think I already said that. So this is page 2, double checking your wedding date one more time, and the fee for the engagement, obviously $1 million. That would be nice. I take a half deposit, which is pretty advanced and which is pretty common in the industry. Retainer is non-refundable, due with signed contract, payable to Ryan Parker, and then the client should pay the balance 14 days prior to the artist performance. The balance, which is whatever the balance is, payable to Ryan Parker. If artist is no longer able to perform due to illness or otherwise, the entire amount already paid is due back to the client by the artist. So if something were to happen to me, horrible sickness or something the day of, you would get all of your money back, basically, and we'd make sure that you have another DJ. People used to ask this question a lot, like, what happens if you get sick? What happens if you can't make it? I've never missed a gig in 15 years, and honestly, I've never heard of anybody else in the industry ever missing one, so I think that's a rare thing, and if it did happen, it wouldn't be a problem both financially and probably getting you another DJ in short notice, somebody that's good. Please return the contract no later than 14 days. That's just so that you can reserve the date and somebody else doesn't take it. And down here you just sign and date, and I've signed and dated. And after that, people will print this out. I'll email this to them. You print it out, and most people send me a deposit check and the contract by mail. And you can send it to my address that's listed here. So now, next video, I'm going to talk about what I do once I receive your contract. I'm going to send you some planning materials and some ideas so that you can prepare yourself for our final meeting that happens about a month before your wedding.